Today, what we are going to take a look at is how to follow a process flow, how to actually have a workflow to make sure that you are designing something in the right way. So, in most of the cases, what happens is that your exposure, your design, the quality of the design is limited because your exposure is limited. You might not be able to say which design decisions you should take and what are the things that you should avoid while you're approaching a design. So I'm going to just give you an overview of a process flow that you need to follow. Try to actually use this, and then you can definitely see the improvement in your process, right? So throughout this video, I will be creating a design, but I will be following a particular workflow here. So let's take a look at what is that workflow. And this is not an established workflow. I'm just creating that right now. So the first step, right, of this process is to understand the project, right? So what exactly is the brief that is given to you? You have to go through it and understand it very well. So let's take a look at the project that you have in hand. So let's say that this is what I have right now. This is the design task that you are supposed to do. And this is the brief right here, right? So we have to create a 1000 by 1000 pixel poster for a short film contest. So the poster must have an image. We can actually use AI tools or Unsplash to get images. We can use typography, shapes, and various colors as well in the design. We have a deadline for it for the submission as a content, right? This is not the deadline of this project. It is the content. It should show the theme, which is AI versus human. It should show the name Wistoon's Academy, and the call to action is contact your mentor for details. Some other stuff is must use Photoshop for this project. Share the PSD with separate layers and correct names. So this is the project that we have currently. So this project is mandatory for everyone who wishes to attend this class. So this particular session which is going to happen, to attend that, this project is mandatory. So even if the project is complete, you have to share the work file at the end is the requirement which is happening here. So let's go to the first phase of this, as I was saying, right? It is understanding the brief. So read this carefully multiple times if you want. You need to take down the important points here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rephrase this. This is what we got right now. So the things that we need to be very careful about is that it needs to be 1000 pixels. So that's something that we have to be very careful about. It needs to be an image-based design, which needs to have typography and all that stuff, which we already know. The content, right? So content is short film contest. Theme is AI versus human. It should have a name. The brand name is Wistoon's Academy. And contact your mentor for details as a call to action. So we have an idea of what needs to be the content. This is the content that needs to be inside the poster, and the resolution of this, we already got that. All right. So there is also the deadline. So deadline of submission is 5th December. Okay, so we understood the content. We are clear about this, right? So now the next step. So we have the, we understood what the brief is, right? What exactly needs to be done. So we can go to the next phase of it. The first one was understanding the brief. The second one, I'm going to call it mood boarding. So we are going to mood board right now. So what exactly is mood boarding? Mood boarding is the art of collecting inspiration, inspires you by showing you different treatments of design elements. One thing which is a lot of people actually do is to find images which actually satisfies their content. So for instance, it's not a good idea to actually go for this particular poster. If I'm just going and searching for AI versus human, in, let's say, an application like Pinterest, you're going to get a lot of elements like this, right? So putting this into your mood board is not going to give you any inspiration, because you are not trying to find content for your poster. You're trying to find design treatments. That's the first thing that you need to understand, right? What you just did right now is an exercise called visual foraging. We will talk about that later, but this is not how you should do it. So if you want to do it, the right way is to just look for maybe poster designs. So you're not looking for the theme, because you are trying to understand how posters are designed, right? We are going to make a poster, so we need to understand the various styles of how posters are designed and how typography, colors, imagery, and shapes are treated in different posters, right? So you can take a look at a lot of interesting works here. These are very trending, and it's really good to take inspiration from here. So whatever you like from these kind of search, if that particularly interests you, you can take those, right? Any style, you can club it together. You don't have to particularly look for one style, but randomly, if there are styles that actually talks to you or you are able to connect to it, take that, use that later. So I'm just going to randomly take some work that inspires me in terms of how the typography works, how the imagery works, how the colors actually work, things like that. So now, one major challenge, one major drawback of this process is that when you're actually looking at Pinterest, you might not actually see these kind of works, because the works that Pinterest is showing me is based on my previous behavior on what I like and what I don't like. So when you're going there and when you're looking for poster design, chances will be there when you might be encountering a lot of bad designs as well, right? So for if you're a beginner, if you're a complete beginner in design, I wouldn't recommend mood boarding with Pinterest, right? Because Pinterest is not curated. It is populated by other designers like you. But if you go to a curated stream, right, let's say, for instance, let's go to Behance. And if you go to explore and click on curated galleries, click on graphic design, what you're going to see right now are curated, selected by the editors of Behance, and you're going to see works that are selected by them, right? So you, for sure, you know that whatever you're seeing went through a filtering process and is selected by people who actually knows about design, right? So when we are seeing this, when you're taking designs from these sources, you know that you are designing something which is good. We are getting inspired by something that is um, trending and something that is a good design, right? So try to actually get, so this is a time taking process, right? I would recommend you to spend as much as time that you can in the mood boarding process, right? So getting exposed to as much as work. So this is not something that you would have to do it in a hurry. When you have lots of time, go through a lot of design and collect as much as work that you can, right? The more you're exposed to work, the more good it will do to your design outputs, right? So just spend a lot of time in here. Now that you have your mood board in picture, right? So this is something which actually drives your design fuel, right? You have your mood board ready. The next step that we have to do, I'm going to call it brainstorming, right? So we did mood boarding and we are going to a next stage called brainstorming. Brainstorming is where you actually ideate what needs to be in your poster, right? You are going to figure out what are the elements that you actually like from here that you can adapt into a poster. What are the things that can inspire you to create something which actually works in this current world, right? So study this very carefully. What is special about it? What do you like about this, right? Just mark that out. Maybe use that to drive your design, right? So for instance, let's say maybe you like this color which is out there, so the color pairing from here is something that you like. You can just mark it, right? So I like the color which is actually here, right? You can put it down. um, Maybe the type treatments which some other text is using could be something that you like, right? I didn't actually spend much time working on this mood board. I'm just showing you an example, right? So you might have to spend a lot more time to figure out certain things. uh, Maybe okay, in terms of the composition, maybe you like this composition. You loved how that composition actually works. So again, as I told you, this is something which actually takes a little bit of time. Once you've done this, right? So I'm going to create a small frame here, right? So it needs to have something like, it's a thousand poster. And I'm just going to roughly brainstorm here, right? So what kind of composition do I need? So maybe I said that I really like this composition here. So it could be just a face, right? I'm going to use a face here. So I'm just going to say that this is going to be a face like this. And the colors that I like from here, I'm going to use that there. The type arrangement of this, right? I really I like that style. So it is going to be a boxed typography that is going to mention all the details of the program and things like that. And something else that I might actually use from here could be this arrangement of text, like major text coming in like this, right? And some text coming here as well, right? This is something that might actually work because it is all, sort of inspired from this particular mood board. So I have a rough structure here as well, right? Now that our brainstorming is done, let's go to the next step, which is called visual foraging. So what exactly is visual foraging? We have a basic idea here. Now, visual foraging is the process of collecting the content that goes into the text, into the you know into the final design, right? So we are going to collect the content or the assets that we are going to use to build your final design. Many people confuse this process with the art of mood boarding, which is completely different. Mood board actually drove your inspirations, your creativity, your ideas, your treatments. Now what we are going to do is we are going to look for the content that actually comes inside this. So we actually need a face, right? That's the first thing. An image of a face is something that we actually need. So we're going to take a face image. So there are several ways to create a face. What I'm going to use is an AI tool to design a face that I would actually want, right? So what I'm going to do is, let's go to an AI tool, and I'm going to look for an illustration style here. So first thing that I will try and do is I'll go to maybe Pinterest. I'm going to look for face illustration, experimental, abstract. Let's see if I can actually find something which works. Um, I sort of like this style. Maybe let's look for something related as well. Yeah, I think this actually works better. So I'm going to just save it. I'm going to use this as a reference for AI to generate something. So there are so many AI tools out there. I usually use Adobe Firefly and Midjourney, but I'm going to try and use Luma for this. Dream Machine, Luma Labs.ai. I think you will, currently I have a paid plan, but I think you can actually create free assets using this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new prompt, right? So what I want to see is a face, an illustrated face, which is part human and part Android. So this is what I want to create. And the reference, I'm basically going to give the image that we just downloaded from Pinterest. Just process it. Okay, I was able to get some really interesting images which uses the same style of illustration but a completely new graphic, right? So you can go and find out which one actually works. I think I am going to go with this one. Looks sort of interesting. I'm going to download this. So I got my first asset that I want to use. Then there are a couple of other things that I need, right? So the face is there. I need to have the palettes of colors which are generated. So let's drop. I'm dropping it in the same, document. Now we need the colors, right? So we basically can extract the colors from here, I guess. So let's, okay, so I have the colors and maybe I need the typography as well. So I'm going to look for the typography that actually works with this, right? So I'm going to choose some mono typefaces. So what I can do is I can actually go for that design inspired from the mood board that we have. We're going to look for works, right? Typography that actually is similar to it. So let's say, okay, this seems interesting. So I'm going to just add the family right there. Okay. So that got added to our. So like that, I will add all the typefaces. So this process right now, what we have done is called visual foraging. Now that we have done understanding the brief, mood boarding, brainstorming, and visual foraging, we are ready to make our design. So let's go to the designing phase of this. This project, I'm going to use Photoshop. So let's jump into Photoshop and create a new file. While you're creating the new file, you should be aware of what is the resolution that they asked us to build this in. So it was 1000 pixels into 1000 pixels. So you can create this in 1000 pixels and 1000 pixels. One thing is that you can actually create this in 1000 pixels and 1000 pixels, or you can create it in a larger resolution and compress it into 1000 pixels before you sending it. But for this particular purpose, we are going to make it in 1000 by 1000. 72 is fine for web, but I'm just increasing this a little bit. RGB is again fine. Let's create it. Okay, so we have the file right here. Let's do one more thing, right? Let's bring in our mood board and brainstorming documentation right into this, right? So we are going to go to the downloads. So we have the mood board right here. So we can quickly see like what we are doing here in comparison with this. So this will actually give you a good benchmark, right? That this is the quality that I want to achieve based on your inspirations. Where do you stand, right? That is something that you can always have when you are a beginner, right? So we have the basic idea of what we need to build. So let's bring in the assets that we foraged earlier, right? So we have a couple of images and things like that. So let's go and place the first image that we have into our design. So this is the first one. Let's bring it in and let's place it right there. So we have that in this design. So I basically need just the object. I don't need the background per se for this poster, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go here, click on remove background, and it's going to take away the background. And this is good enough for me. I don't need the actual background. I just need this piece of it, right? So it didn't do a perfect job because it left pieces of stuff in here. Maybe I might be able to manually do this, like by selecting this and then removing those areas from here, right? I can just remove that pieces from here using the brush tool. Maybe I can reduce the or bring in the hardness a bit and then create or erase the stuff that I don't need in my final out. Right. That actually works, right? So I have that unit in here of the face. I'll just move it up a bit. Okay. Now let's bring in the other stuff. So we need the color, which is basically inspired from this. So what we are going to do is I'm just going to take the tool and I'm going to take the color. I'm just going to sample the color from there. I'm going to use that as the background, right? So I'm just going to fill this background, drop it in the background here. So we have that background happening here. And then we have the text color that we will take it later as well. So we have this, the major stuff which is done. There are a couple of corrections that we'll do to this design, right? So that we'll keep improvising on it, but let's build the initial idea that we have into this. We have to bring all the content that we have into this, right? So we already have decided where the text is going to go, right? So major text, the main text is going to go here. So let's decide what is a major text and then bring that inside, right? So we have the text, which is right here. There's something called short film contest, theme AI versus human, and with Students Academy, right? There are a couple of things which are there, but I think the major topic would be this AI versus human. Let's bring that into this design. So I'm going to go here, take the type tool, just choose the colors that I want. I'm going to take it from here right now. Let's see how that works. And type AI versus human. Okay. Now the text is not actually looking good because it's using a previously existing type choice that we made, right? So a couple of modifications that we have to do. First thing is we have to change the typeface. So we will look for the typeface that we just installed right now, which is let's go to the type tools, right? So we have here, I'll reduce the, we'll just scale it up a bit. I'll bring it to the top so that it actually stays on top of the design or something like this. Just reduce the spacing a little like this. Okay, so we have one title which actually comes like that. All right, AI versus human. Okay, that's there. Now there is another title that actually complements us on the top, right? So we're going to duplicate this. I'm just going to keep it on the top, and I'm going to say short film contest. So that's going to be the subheading for this. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to reduce the scale of this. It doesn't have to be this big, so I'm just going to keep it somewhere here. It's a short film contest. It is the okay. We have something like that. Okay, good. So the top two texts are actually there. Now we need to figure out the bottom part of it. Second, we said that we are going to put that into a modular box sort of thing. So I'm just going to draw a kick box right here. Okay, so the stroke, I need it to be black. Use it like this. We are going to bring the next data. So short film contest AI versus human, and the rest of the content, we need to actually get it here, right? So let's go in here. We have deadline for submission, and it's 5th December, right? So 3 layers of info that we might actually want to use here. So I'm going to take a line and create 3 sections here. So one is going to be this, and take another stroke. I'm going to bring it here, create one more, and maybe I'll just divide this into 2 like this. Okay, so I have this right now with the lines, right? Cool. So we have the line, we have the box. So now it's time to bring the content. So let's go and choose a black and type in the rest of the content. So there are a couple of points in here, right? The deadline of the submission, then what they have to do and things like that. So we will actually start with Students Academy. Just put that in here. Let's reduce the scale of this. Go to a mono typeface. So I want to choose something which is mono here. Mono regular. And I'm going to change the rendering setting to smooth so that the text actually appears smoother. I'll take that. I'm going to scale it down so that it fits into the boxes. Another text which basically says that what's the other text? Let's go on. Contact your mentor, deadline for submission. Okay, so we will actually use this. So contact your mentors for details. I'm going to just put that there. Use this here. I'm going to use a slightly bigger typography here. So I'm going to bring this and then let's scale it down a bit. So when you're scaling it down like this, you might have to notice that your skirting and leading and all that is subjective. So you might have to go in and manually adjust those things as well. So 5th December is my deadline. So I'm going to use that. So we have 5th December sitting in here. Now there is a box which is empty right now. You can leave it empty, or you can actually add one more data into it, one more detail into it. So if in case where the content is actually not there, this is the right time where you could improvise and find something that will go into that, right? So we have basically put everything: short film contest, theme AI versus human, Wisdom's Academy, contact your mentors, deadline for submission, all of that is actually here, right? So you can improvise and put more content, maybe how to submit or something like that, right? Or what we will try and do is we are going to take this and we are going to put it into this line. So contact your mentors for details is something that we are going to take here. I'm going to break this down into one more line. I'm going to use it right here. And I'll use this line for something, for writing something else, right? So exclusive for students. Right, this is what I want to do. And we'll also add the sub heading here, which is not it's a fine print sort of thing that I'm going to add here, saying that it's the final date submission. So final date of submission is this. I'm going to put it here. Put it like a seal, which was sort of misplaced on top of that. 5th December is the final date of submission. So we have that data which is correctly there. So now that we have made our basic structure, right, there is a lot of filtering. Now you have your 80% there with your design. It's not done yet. There's a lot of stuff that we can actually still do to this to make it a little more interesting, right? So I'm going to work on that, but I'm going to sort of like slightly put it on mute. I'm not going to speak while I'm doing it. Maybe put some music or something on top of this, and you can actually watch the way that things are shaping up from this to the final design. Then you're done. The whole idea, once again, is to make sure that you are exposed in a good way, that you are easily able to understand what is actually good and what needs to be done for your design, right? Portfolios. So hope you actually learned something from this video. Keep watching this again and again until you're clear about what just happened right now, okay? So let me just get started with the filtering process here.